So the housing stats are in for the month of September here in the Belleville and Quinte West areas. Many people are saying the housing's dropping off. Today, we'll look at the numbers and find out. Hi, my name is Jeremy Tremblay. I'm a local realtor that works here in the Belleville and surrounding areas. If you have any questions after this video, my information down below in the description. I'd love to hear from you, whether it's a call, a text, or an email. Also, I've done many other videos on my channel that talk about this area. So if you're not familiar with the Belleville, Quinte West, Prince Edward County, check out those videos. You'll learn quite a bit more. Hit the subscribe to hear about new videos. And finally, if you learn anything from this or it adds any value, I'd love if you could hit the little thumbs up button. Let's get to it. So getting right to it, we've got 4 stats that I like to look at, and I like to look at Belleville and Quinte West because I think that best represents the area that we are in. First one we're going to look at here is the months of inventory. If you've never heard of months of inventory, it essentially means if you take all the inventory that we have available in the market right now, don't add any new listings, and then how long would it take for those to sell if things continue to sell at the current rate. And so as you can see from this chart, you have kind of a balanced or a buyer or seller's market. So if months of inventory, that number is 3 or under, what's generally considered a seller's market. Balanced market, you're between 3 and 5. And then a buyer's market is generally 5 and over. Those numbers can change depending on who you talk to, but that's what we are using. And we look at this initial stat here, months of inventory for September in our area was ticking up. 3.7, and as we saw, that puts us into the balanced territory. We've been on the cusp the last couple of months. We were at 3.5 or lower towards 3 for the month of August, so we were kind of on the verge of getting to a seller's market, but it was still balanced. Well, I can tell you from what I'm seeing in the area, it definitely feels like a balanced market. And these numbers are kind of proving that at 3.7 months of inventory. And so as we look at the next one here, average sale price. Now, everyone likes to know this one when they're purchasing because they want to see where things are going, but also when people are selling, they want to know where the trend is happening. Well, this one here, we've seen a drop. We had quite a spike in August, so $578,000 was the average price, whereas this month of September, we have $545,000, which is right on par with where things were in July. So that's something to consider. It just means that the overall average price of homes is that little bit lower. And then we go to the number of sales. This one I think is also interesting because it had stayed high. You look at this chart from April, the highest month, all the way until last month in August. Things stayed up. They were coming down a little bit, but they were leveling off. Well, we went from 133 sales last month, and we were down to 115 sales this month. So overall, months of inventory, we saw that tick up. We saw the overall average price get a little bit lower, and now we're seeing less sales. The fourth one I look at here is days on market. This one affects both sides of the transaction. So if you're somebody that's selling your home, you're going to want to know and be able to set expectations. How long will it take for my house to sell on average? And if you're buying, you want to know whether you need to be rushing in or whether you can sit back and wait a little bit, knowing houses are sitting for longer. Well, no change between August and this month. 41 days on the market. And so it was much lower. You can see the lowest point was in April of 2024, and then it just kept going up. It went over 30, and then we made our way up to 40 days on the market. Now, I will say, many people, our perception has changed over the last number of years that houses that don't sell within the first week or two, there must be something wrong. Well, historically, that's not really normal when you're selling something like a house. A house doesn't move easily. It's not like buying and selling stocks on a stock market. It takes time for a house, for people to go through it, to look at it, to do inspections, all the other things that are involved with it. And so I don't think this is too jarring. 40 days on the market, I think is still fairly comfortable when you consider that everyone's putting inspections in. But that being said, the sentiment is really what's important here. We look at all of these stats and we see that things seem to be softening in the market a little bit. People are sitting back, waiting a little longer, maybe taking a little bit less for their home. Months of inventory is firmly going into that balanced territory. And so people often ask, well, what do you think is happening next? Well, we have these stats today. When you listen to the news, you hear Bank of Canada. I often touch on what they're doing because every time they raise or lower rates, it has quite an effect on the economy as a whole. And right now, they are consistently lowering the interest rates, the Bank of Canada interest rates. So they're forecasting that even more will be lowered, even larger as the year goes on and into 2025. Now, what does that mean for the housing? Well, it means that mortgages potentially are going to be getting a little bit more affordable. Your monthly payment gets a little bit smaller, or you can qualify for a bigger mortgage. But the bigger picture means that they're lowering the rate because our overall economy, not just housing market, the economy is not doing as well. We're seeing the unemployment numbers are starting to tick up. There's just a lot of fear happening right now overall in the world, but yes, in Canada as well, that our numbers aren't doing so great. And so they are reacting by lowering the interest rate. Then the government has also brought in a bunch of different things for mortgages to allow people to get more money. So whether that means extending the amortization from 25 to 30 years, or whether it's the insured mortgage portion where people can now get an insured mortgage up to $1.5 million. They're just trying a bunch of different things to spur it on a little bit more because Canada's gross domestic product, our GDP, you may hear that a lot, housing is a big portion of it. And so overall, I'm kind of in between right now. I would say the word that I use often is it's a soft market. Things aren't really falling off a cliff or anything, but it's very soft. And I like to add that when people post a house at the right price, there are buyers. Houses are selling fairly quickly if the price is right and it makes sense compared to other homes that have sold in the area. Whereas if you're a seller and you're trying to really get that top dollar based on what you may have seen, a couple of years ago when the markets were way up there, well, the buyers aren't quite willing to come to that yet. And that's why those houses are sitting for longer or potentially having to see price cuts. And so on the ground, that's what I'm seeing in our area specifically. There are still buyers to support. So if a house comes low enough, there are buyers there to take it. So I don't see housing prices falling off a cliff because there's just too many buyers ready to jump in. But at the same time, those buyers aren't willing to chase things up. So we're seeing a lot of sideways. I'll be very curious to see if the fall market this year continues and we don't really see an uptick like everyone was predicting, and we kind of see it go sideways. And then even more so, what's going to happen as you go into the winter, when traditionally and historically, we've seen things kind of drop off a little bit more. So it'll be very interesting looking forward. If I've mentioned anything here where you want to go into a little bit more, you have more questions about it, you want some more clarification, as I said, reach out. My information is down below. My name is Jeremy Trombley. I'm a realtor that works in this area. And also, if you don't know much about our area, you want to learn a little bit more about Belleville, check out my channel. I've got many other videos that talk about this area. And then finally, I appreciate you coming and watching this video. It would really help if you could hit the little thumbs up. Till next time.